The council chamber floated in the darkness of space like a crystal jewel. Inside, representatives from 47 different alien species sat in their designated seats. The air was filled with tension. Ambassador Hana stood among them, the only human in the room. She could feel every eye watching her. Speaker Vorath, a tall insect-like being with 4 arms, raised one limb for silence. His voice came through the translation device, cold and desperate. The Devourers have taken another colony. That makes 23 worlds lost in 6 months, 3 billion souls consumed. Entire civilizations erased like they never existed. The chamber filled with sounds of distress. Some aliens clicked their mandibles. Others released chemical signals of fear. Hana remained still, watching and listening. Our defensive fleets are useless, continued another representative, a being made of crystalline structures. They adapt to our weapons. They learn from every encounter. Our ships are designed for exploration, for science, for peace. We have not fought a war in 10,000 years. Then perhaps you should start learning, Hana said quietly. Every head turned toward her. Vorath's compound eyes focused on the human. Ambassador Hana, your species has only been spacefaring for 80 years. You have one small colony beyond your home system. Why would we? Because we're good at killing, Hana interrupted. Because Earth is a death world where everything evolved to survive by being faster, stronger or smarter than the thing trying to eat it. Because humans have been at war with something or someone for our entire existence. The chamber fell silent. An elder being covered in soft blue fur spoke next. His voice trembled. We know your reputation, Ambassador. The incident at Proxima Station, when your colony ship was attacked by pirates, your crew killed every single attacker. Then you hunted down their base and left no survivors. You didn't take prisoners. You didn't negotiate. They killed 43 of our civilians, Hana replied, her voice flat, including 16 children. We responded appropriately. You destroyed an entire station. 1,200 beings died. 1,200 pirates died, Hana corrected. The innocent workers had already been evacuated. We're not monsters. We're precise. Vorath raised his arms again. This is exactly why we isolated humanity. Your violence frightens us. But now, he paused, his voice breaking. Now we have no choice. The Devourers will reach the core worlds within a year. Our species, our cultures, our history, everything will be consumed. We are asking you, begging you, for military assistance. Hana looked around the chamber. She saw fear in every alien face. These were civilizations that had built wonders humans could barely imagine. They had art, music, philosophy that spanned millennia. They had achieved peace across thousands of worlds. And now they were dying. What are you offering in return? She asked. Anything, Vorath said immediately. Technology, resources, knowledge, name your price. I need to consult with Earth. But I can tell you now what the answer will be. We'll help, 'cause that's what humans do. We protect those who can't protect themselves. And what will you require from us? Hana's expression hardened. Stay out of our way. Don't question our methods. Don't try to restrict our weapons. If you want us to win, you let us fight like humans fight. She activated her communication device. The holographic image of an older human male appeared. He had gray hair, sharp eyes, and scars on his face. He wore a military uniform decorated with medals. Ambassador, the man said simply. Admiral Teho, the Council has formally requested military intervention against the Devourer threat. Teho's eyes narrowed. I'm watching the briefing files now. Machine intelligence. Assimilates technology. Consumes organic matter for resources. No communication attempt successful. He paused. They're asking us to fight their war. They're asking us to save them, Hana corrected, and if we refuse, then 47 civilizations die. Trillions of innocent beings. Teho was quiet for a long moment. The aliens in the chamber watched the hologram with desperate hope. I retired 5 years ago, Teho finally said. I told myself I was done with war. Done with sending young people to die. I know, sir. But these Devourers won't stop with the Council species, will they? Eventually they'll reach Earth. Our analysts believe so. Could be 20 years. Could be 50. But yes, they'll come for us eventually. Teho nodded slowly. Better to fight them now, far from home. Better to choose the battlefield. He straightened his uniform. Tell the Council I accept command. I'll need full authority over the fleet. No restrictions on weapons or tactics. And Hana? Yes, Admiral. Make it clear to them we're not peacekeepers. We're not police. We're soldiers. When we arrive, people will die. A lot of people. If they want a gentle solution, they should find someone else. Hana looked at Vorath. You heard him. Can you accept those terms? The alien leader's shoulders sagged. We have no choice. Yes, we accept. Then Earth will mobilize its defense fleet, Tejo said. We'll need 2 weeks for preparation. Send us all intelligence data on the Devourers. Ship movements, attack patterns, everything you have. As the hologram faded, another message came through to Hana's device. It was from Suji, the communications officer aboard the human flagship Indomitable. Ambassador, the fleet is already assembling. Word spread fast. Every ship in Sol system is volunteering. The Admiral will have more vessels than he needs. Hana allowed herself a small smile. Humans were predictable in some ways. Tell them someone needed help. Someone was being bullied, someone was threatening the innocent, and they came running with weapons ready. Vorath approached her carefully. Ambassador Hana, are your people truly capable of stopping the Devourers? They have destroyed every fleet we sent against them. Our people are capable of terrible things, Speaker Vorath. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every single day. We survived ice ages, predators, diseases, and each other. We learned to make tools, then weapons that could destroy our entire planet. We've fought wars that killed millions. We've created destruction on a scale you can't imagine. That doesn't comfort me. It shouldn't. But understand this. We also learned when to stop. We learned mercy, compassion, sacrifice. We fight not because we enjoy it, but because sometimes violence is the only answer to violence. You asked for warriors. You're getting the best killers in the galaxy, but we're also the ones who choose to protect instead of conquer. Vorath was silent for a moment. I pray you're right, Ambassador, because if the humans fail, there's no one left to save us. We won't fail, Hana said with certainty, because failure means the Devourers eventually reach Earth, and we will burn the galaxy to ashes before we let something threaten our home. She turned to leave the chamber, already composing her report to Earth Command. Behind her, the alien representatives began discussing logistics, resources, staging areas. But Hana's mind was already on the fleet, on Admiral Tejo, on the thousands of human soldiers who would soon leave the safety of their solar system. They were going to war. And the galaxy was about to learn why Earth had been left alone for 80 years. Not because humans were weak, but because they were terrifying. The Mars orbital shipyard stretched across the red planet's orbit like a mechanical spider web. Hundreds of ships hung in various states of construction and retrofit. Admiral Tejo stood on the observation deck of the command station, watching the fleet assemble. 200 ships, said Captain Hyunwoo, standing beside him. That's everything we have that can fight. We're stripping the home defense network bare. Earth will be vulnerable, Tejo acknowledged. But if we don't stop the Devourers out there won't be an Earth to defend. Hyunwoo was younger than Tejo by 20 years, but he'd seen combat during the Rim Wars. His ship, the carrier Valkyrie's Wrath, was one of the largest vessels in the fleet. It carried 3,000 fighter craft and their pilots. The council observers arrived this morning, Hyunwoo continued. They want to inspect the fleet. Let them look. Maybe it'll help them understand what they've asked for. The alien delegation arrived an hour later. There were 5 of them, each from a different species. They wore protective suits and were accompanied by Vorath, who served as their translator and guide. Tejo met them in the main hangar of the Valkyrie's Wrath. The aliens stared at the rows of fighter craft. Each one was painted black with red markings. They were small, fast, and heavily armed. These are piloted by living beings? Asked one alien, a floating jellyfish-like creature. Yes, Captain Hyunwoo replied. Each fighter has 1 pilot. They train for 5 years before they're allowed in combat. But the G-forces from those maneuvers, we've seen your training footage, they would kill most species. They would, Tejo agreed. Our pilots wear pressure suits and undergo medical treatments. Even then, some don't survive training. But the ones who make it through are the best combat pilots in known space. Another alien with 6 legs and crystal eyes was examining a mounted weapon. This is a kinetic weapon. You use solid projectiles accelerated to extreme speeds. Railguns, confirmed Hyunwoo. Effective and simple. Hard to defend against because there's no energy signature to detect until impact. But the damage to civilian areas, we don't miss, Tejo said coldly. Our targeting computers are accurate to within centimeters at combat ranges. If there are civilians nearby, we don't fire. If we fire, we hit exactly what we're aiming at. The delegation moved deeper into the ship. They passed armories filled with weapons, medical bays designed for combat trauma, and training rooms where soldiers practiced hand-to-hand combat. The aliens grew more disturbed with each new area. In the command center, they met Captain Yuna. She was the commander of the Silent Reaper, a stealth destroyer. She was shorter than Tejo, with quick eyes that missed nothing. "Captain, show them your ship's capabilities," Tejo ordered. Yuna pulled up a holographic display. "The Silent Reaper uses adaptive camouflage technology. We can match any background: asteroid, nebula, empty space. Our hull absorbs sensor waves instead of reflecting them. To any detector, we don't exist." "That technology is banned under Council regulations," Vorath protested. "We're not part of the Council," Yuna replied simply. "And you asked for our help." She continued the presentation. "We carry missiles with variable yields, from conventional explosives to nuclear warheads. We have electronic warfare suites that can take control of enemy systems, and we specialize in infiltration, getting into places we're not supposed to be." One of the aliens was shaking. "You're describing weapons designed to attack without warning, without giving an enemy the chance to surrender." "Yes," Yuna said. "That's exactly what we're describing. Because the Devourers don't surrender. They don't negotiate. They consume. So we'll hit them when and where they don't expect it. We'll take away their advantages. We'll make them afraid." "Can machines feel fear?" the alien asked. "We'll find out." The delegation was taken next to the research division. Engineer Dong Hyun met them there. He was covered in grease and looked like he hadn't slept in days. Behind him, workers were installing strange devices onto ship hulls. "What are those?" Vorath asked. "We call them Prometheus devices," Dong Hyun explained. "They're adaptive weapons. They learn from enemy technology and turn it against them. If the Devourers use energy shields, we create frequencies that disrupt those shields. If they use quantum communication, we jam it. We don't just fight, we evolve faster than they can adapt. That's impossible. Technology doesn't evolve that quickly." Dong Hyun grinned. "Alien technology doesn't. Human engineers work differently. We tinker. We experiment. We break rules. Every ship in this fleet has a workshop where crews can modify their weapons during battle. If something doesn't work, we change it. Sometimes in the middle of a firefight." He showed them another device. This one's smaller. This is a computer virus, not like anything you've seen before. It doesn't just corrupt data, it learns the enemy system and spreads. We've designed it specifically for machine intelligence. If we can get it into their network, it'll cause chaos." The aliens were silent. Vorath finally spoke. "You've prepared all this in 2 weeks?" "We've been preparing for this fight our entire history," Tejo said. "We just didn't know who the enemy would be. Every human civilization has spent centuries developing better ways to kill. We've had world wars, nuclear standoffs, cyber attacks, biological weapons. We've imagined every possible horror and built defenses against it. And now we're bringing all that knowledge to your war." They moved to the pilot ready room next. Minji was there, briefing her squadron. She had the call sign Viper painted on her flight suit. When she saw the delegation, she paused her presentation. "These are our guests from the council," Tejo explained. "They want to understand how we fight." Minji nodded. "We're training for high-G combat maneuvers. The Devourers are predictable. They use optimal flight paths, efficient tactics. We're teaching our pilots to be unpredictable. We'll pull turns that should tear our ships apart. We'll fly in ways that seem insane. Because organic beings can make decisions that no computer expects." She showed them footage of a training exercise. The human fighters moved like birds, like fish in a school, constantly shifting and adapting. They executed barrel rolls, split S, maneuvers and suicide runs that made the alien observers gasp. "Your pilots will die," one alien said. "Those maneuvers are too dangerous." "Some will die," Minji agreed. "That's war. But each pilot knows the risks. We volunteer, we train, and when we go into battle, we give everything we have. Because we're Not just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for everyone who can't fight. The tour ended at the flagship Indomitable. Suji, now promoted to strategic planning, gave them the final briefing. The fleet will depart in 3 days, she explained, pointing at a star map. We'll travel to the Valorian system, where the Devourers are currently harvesting resources. Our intelligence suggests they have a major staging area there. You're going to attack their staging area? Vorath asked in disbelief. That's suicide. They'll be heavily defended. We're not going to knock on the door and ask permission, Teho said. We're going to hit them hard and fast. We'll teach them that humanity doesn't wait to be attacked, we hunt. As the delegation prepared to leave, Vorath approached Teho privately. Admiral, I must ask, do you truly believe you can win? Believe we can hurt them badly enough that they'll wish they'd never entered this galaxy? That's not the same as winning. In war, sometimes there is no winning. Sometimes there's only survival. But I promise you this, when we're done, the Devourers will know they made a mistake. They'll know that humanity doesn't forgive, doesn't forget, and never stops hunting. 3 days later, the fleet departed. 200 ships entered hyperspace together. And as was human tradition, each ship played music as it jumped. War songs from 1,000 years of human conflict echoed across the void. The galaxy was about to meet Earth's warriors. The Valorian system looked peaceful from a distance. 5 planets orbited a yellow star, and the third planet had once been home to 6 billion beings. Now it was being consumed by machines. Admiral Teho stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the tactical display. Dozens of Devourer ships surrounded the planet like flies on rotting meat. They were harvesting everything: metals, organic compounds, water, even the atmosphere itself. How many hostile contacts? He asked. Tactical Officer Jiwoo studied her screens. 147 ships, ranging from small harvesters to capital ships. They're organized in a defensive grid pattern. Predictable, Teho muttered. They think efficiency is strength. Beside him stood Prefix, the alien liaison assigned to observe human combat operations. He was a thin, gray-skinned being with large eyes. He looked nervous. Admiral, surely you're not going to attack. We're outnumbered, and they hold the defensive position. We're not outnumbered, Teho replied. We just have fewer ships. There's a difference. He opened a communication channel to the entire fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Teho. We're not here to observe. We're not here to negotiate. We're here to kill, target at will. Leave nothing operational. Execute. The human fleet erupted into motion. Captain Hyunwoo's carrier, Valkyrie's Wrath, launched every fighter it had. 3,000 small craft screamed toward the Devourer formation like a swarm of angry hornets. The alien machines began firing defensive weapons, their targeting computers calculating optimal firing solutions. But the human pilots didn't fly in predictable patterns. Minji led her squadron in a spiraling approach, constantly changing speed and direction. The Devourer weapons couldn't track them. By the time their computers adjusted, the fighters had already moved. The human craft dove into the enemy formation and began tearing ships apart with concentrated fire. Viper Squadron, follow my lead, Minji called out. Target their sensor arrays first. Make them blind. Her fighters executed a maneuver that would have killed most organic pilots, a 12G turn that brought them directly underneath the Devourer capital ship. They fired in unison, their weapons punching through the vessel's sensor clusters. The machine ship went dark, unable to see or coordinate with the rest of its fleet. On the Indomitable's bridge, Jiwoo was tracking the battle with precision. She had spent years studying alien combat tactics. The Devourers were exactly as predictable as she'd hoped. Admiral, they're repositioning to create overlapping fields of fire. Standard defensive doctrine. Then let's punish them for being predictable. Order Captain Yuna to move. The Silent Reaper had been drifting through the battle zone, invisible to all sensors. Now it moved into position behind the Devourer command ship. Without warning, it fired every missile it carried directly into the enemy vessel's engines. The command ship exploded in a ball of fire and debris. The other Devourer ships hesitated for exactly 1.3 seconds, waiting for new orders from a commander who no longer existed. In those 1.3 seconds, the human fleet killed 17 more ships. Prefix watched in horror and fascination. They're not fighting like any species I've ever seen. They're chaotic, unpredictable. How do they coordinate? Every human commander has authority to make their own decisions, Tejo explained. We don't wait for orders. We see an opportunity, we take it. We see a weakness, we exploit it. Individual initiative is our greatest weapon. Aboard a human boarding craft, Commander Nari was leading her marine team toward a damaged Devourer harvester ship. Her job was to capture enemy technology intact. Lock and load, she ordered. Remember, these things will try to assimilate any technology we bring in. Use only kinetic weapons, bullets and blades, nothing electronic. The boarding craft punched through the harvester's hull. The Marines poured in, their rifles firing armor-piercing rounds. Inside the ship, they encountered Devourer drones, small machines designed for repair work now trying to defend their vessel. The machines were efficient. They analyzed threats, calculated optimal responses, and engaged with mechanical precision. But they had never faced human Marines before. Nari's team didn't fight like machines. They used cover creatively, communicated with hand signals, and adapted to each new situation. When one Marine was pinned down, another threw a smoke grenade and flanked the enemy position. When the drones set up a defensive choke point, the humans blew a hole through the wall and attacked from an unexpected angle. "They're learning our tactics," one Marine called out. "Then change tactics," Nari shouted back. "Don't let them predict." "You!" She pulled out a combat knife and charged a drone that was reloading. The machine never expected a melee attack. Its programming didn't include responses for an enemy that fought with ancient weapons. Nari drove the blade into its central processor and twisted. Back in space, the battle was turning into a slaughter. The Devourers had superior numbers and their technology was advanced, but they fought like machines, logical, efficient, predictable. The humans fought like hunters who had evolved to kill. Captain Hunwoo's carrier deployed a new weapon, autonomous drones, each one controlled by a learning AI. But these weren't like Devourer machines. Human AI was designed differently. Each drone could think for itself, make creative decisions, even sacrifice itself if necessary. The drones swarmed through the Devourer formation like piranhas. They didn't follow optimal attack patterns. They feinted, retreated, then attacked from new angles. They learned from each engagement and shared that knowledge instantly with the rest of the swarm. "They're trying to adapt," Jiwoo reported. "The Devourers are changing their formation." "Too late," Tejo said. "Helm, bring us within firing range of that cluster of harvesters. All batteries fire at will." The Indomitable's main guns opened up. Railgun rounds traveling at relativistic speeds smashed through Devourer hulls. Each shot carried the kinetic energy of a small nuclear weapon. Ships simply ceased to exist when the rounds hit them. "Enemy forces are attempting to retreat," Jiwoo announced. "Don't let them," Tejo ordered. "Pursuit squadrons, run them down. No survivors." Minji's fighters chased the fleeing Devourer ships. Some tried to jump to hyperspace. The humans fired missiles into their jump drives. The resulting explosions were spectacular. After 3 hours of combat, the Valorian system was quiet. Debris from destroyed ships floated everywhere. The human fleet had lost 34 vessels and over 2,000 crew members. But every single Devourer ship had been destroyed. Commander Nari's Marines returned with captured technology. Engineer. Donghyun was already analyzing it, his face excited. "This is beautiful," he said, examining a Devourer processor. "Their systems are integrated, networked. If we can crack their communication protocols, we can track them across the galaxy." Prefix approached Admiral Tejo slowly. The alien liaison looked shaken. "You didn't just defeat them, you destroyed them completely. You didn't give them a chance to surrender." "They don't surrender," Tejo replied. "They consume. This is war, Prefix. We don't fight to win battles. We fight to ensure the enemy can never threaten anyone again." "But the violence, the destruction. I know it's hard to watch. Your species has known peace for thousands of years. You've forgotten what war really looks like." But this is what you asked for. This is what humans do. Prefix was silent for a long moment. Then he accessed his communication device and sent a report back to the council. What did you tell them? Taeho asked. The truth. That you won the battle in 3 hours. That you destroyed a force larger than yours with minimal losses. And that, watching humans fight is the most terrifying thing I've ever experienced. Good. Make sure the Devourers hear about it too. Let them know what's coming for them. As the fleet prepared to move to the next target, Minji returned from her fighter. Her face was tired but determined. She had lost 7 pilots from her squadron. They died well, she told Taeho. Took out 15 enemy ships between them. Their sacrifice will be remembered. That's not enough, Admiral. We need to make it count. We need to win this war. Taeho put a hand on her shoulder. We will, because we're human, and humans don't know how to quit. The war changed after Valorian. Word spread through the galaxy that humanity had done the impossible. They had beaten the Devourers in open combat. But Admiral Taeho knew one victory meant nothing. The machine intelligence had thousands of ships across hundreds of systems. We can't fight them everywhere at once, Suji said during the strategy meeting. They're scattered across 40 star systems. Even if we won every battle, we'd run out of ships before they ran out of targets. Then we don't fight them everywhere, Taeho replied. We hunt them. We find what they need to survive and we destroy it. Captain Yuna leaned forward. You want to target their supply lines? Exactly. These machines need resources, metals, energy, processing facilities. We find those locations and we eliminate them. We don't just beat them in battle. We starve them. Over the next 3 months, the human fleet split into smaller groups. Each group operated independently, striking at Devourer logistics across the galaxy. It was a new kind of warfare, one the machine intelligence had never faced before. Captain Yuna's Silent Reaper became the most feared ship in the fleet. She would hide near asteroid mining operations, waiting for Devourer harvester ships to arrive. Then she would strike without warning, destroying the harvesters and leaving the mining facility intact. The Devourers would send more ships to investigate, and Yuna would destroy those too. It's called a trap, she explained to Prefix, who was still following the human operations. We make them think they need to check on something, and then we kill them when they arrive. Every ship they lose is one less ship they can use somewhere else. This is dishonorable, Prefix protested. Hiding, striking from ambush. There's no honor in war, Yuna replied coldly. There's only winning and losing. The Devourers don't care about honor. They care about consuming everything. So we'll use every advantage we have. Meanwhile, engineer Dong Hyun was making progress with the captured Devourer technology. He had created something he called the Prometheus device, a piece of equipment that could infiltrate machine systems and turn them against their creators. Watch this, he told Admiral Taeho, demonstrating on a captured Devourer drone. He attached the device and activated it. The drone's lights flickered, then it turned and began attacking other Devourer equipment in the testing area. It learns the machine language, finds command protocols and inserts new instructions, Dong-hyun explained. It makes the Devourers fight themselves. How many can you make? We're manufacturing them on every ship with a workshop. So far, we have 300 ready to deploy. Taeho smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Good. Load them onto missiles and send them to every major Devourer facility we can find. The Prometheus assault began the following week. Human ships fired missiles carrying the devices at Devourer processing plants, communication hubs, and construction yards. The machines tried to shoot down the missiles, but humans had learned from previous battles. They used decoys, electronic warfare, and overwhelming numbers. When the devices reached their targets, chaos erupted. Devourer facilities began destroying themselves from within. Construction drones attacked their own ships. Communication systems broadcast false orders. The machine network that had been their greatest strength became their worst vulnerability. They're trying to shut down infected systems, Jiwoo reported, isolating compromised nodes. Then we hit the isolated nodes with conventional weapons, Taeho ordered. They have to choose. Stay connected and risk infection, or disconnect and lose coordination. Either way, we win. Minji's fighter squadron was conducting reconnaissance missions deep in Devourer territory. She flew with only 3 other pilots, moving through contested space using stealth and speed. Viper 1, I'm picking up something big, her wingman called. Sending coordinates now. Minji checked her scanner. What she saw made her blood run cold. It was a megastructure, larger than anything she'd ever seen. Devourer ships moved in and out of it like blood cells through a heart. That's their hub, she whispered. That's where they coordinate everything. She marked the location and sent the data back to the fleet. Then her squadron ran, pursued by dozens of Devourer interceptors. 2 of her pilots didn't make it out, but the information they'd gathered was priceless. Back on the Indomitable, the command staff studied the data. The Devourer hub was massive, a station the size of a small moon protected by thousands of ships and defense platforms. We can't take that with our current forces, Captain Hyunwoo said. Even if we brought the entire fleet, the casualties would be catastrophic. Then we don't attack it head-on, Suji suggested. We isolate it. We destroy everything around it. Every resource depot, every supply line, every manufacturing center. We leave it alone and starving. That will take months, Prefix objected. Maybe years. How many more colonies will the Devourers consume while you starve them? Fewer than they'd consume if we threw away our fleet in a suicide attack, Taeho replied. He studied the star map, his eyes calculating. But you're right, we can't wait years. So we do both. We starve them and prepare for a final assault. We make them weak, then we kill them. The human fleet became ghosts, appearing and disappearing across 40 star systems. They destroyed Devourer mining operations, ambushed supply convoys, and sabotaged construction facilities. The machines tried to adapt, but human tactics changed faster than they could learn. One battle saw Captain Hyunwoo facing a superior Devourer force near a gas giant. Instead of fighting, he led them on a chase through the planet's atmosphere. The Devourer ships followed, their sensors having difficulty with the dense gases. Hyunwoo's ships emerged from the opposite side of the planet and fired on the enemy from behind. By the time the Devourers adjusted, they'd lost 20 ships. You use the environment as a weapon, Prefix observed afterward. Humans use everything as a weapon, Hyunwoo replied. Planets, asteroids, stars, even our own damaged ships. We rammed a Devourer cruiser last week with one of our destroyers that had lost engines. Killed the ship and its crew, but took out a vessel worth 10 of ours. Your own people died for a tactical advantage? They volunteered. They knew they were dead anyway, so they chose to make their deaths count. That's what humans do. We turn our defeats into victories. During this time, Ambassador Hana received a message from the Council. The Devourers wanted to negotiate. They're asking for a ceasefire, she told Taeho. They say they'll leave Council space if we stop attacking them. What did you tell them? Nothing yet. I wanted your input. Taeho's face was like stone. Tell them no. They consumed 23 worlds. Killed trillions. They don't get to walk away because they're losing. They get exterminated. That's not very diplomatic, Admiral. I'm not a diplomat. I'm a soldier. And my mission is to eliminate the Devourer threat permanently. If we let them leave, they'll just rebuild and attack someone else. Maybe in 10 years, maybe in 100. But they'll come back. So we end this now. Hana nodded slowly. I'll send the message. But the Council won't like it. Some of them think we're being too brutal. Then remind them why they called us in the first place. They wanted humanity's violence. They wanted our capacity for destruction. They don't get to complain when we use it. Over the following weeks, the noose tightened around the Devourer hub. Every supply route was cut. Every manufacturing facility was destroyed. The machine intelligence sent desperate attacks trying to break through human blockades, but each time they were defeated. Commander Nari led boarding teams onto 17 different Devourer ships, capturing technology and intelligence. Engineer Dong-hyun used this information to refine his weapons, making each new generation of Prometheus devices more effective. Finally, after 4 months of relentless hunting, Suji delivered her analysis. The hub is isolated. Their resource reserves are at 20%. They have approximately 1,500 ships remaining, mostly concentrated at the hub's location. If we're going to attack, now is the time. Admiral Taeho looked at the faces around him. Captain Hyunwoo, Captain Yuna, Commander Nari, Minji, Dong-hyun, Jiwoo, Suji. They were tired, scarred, but determined. Then we end this, he said. All ships, all crews. We hit them with everything we have. We call it Operation Endgame. The human fleet gathered in empty space, 3 light-years from the Devourer hub. Every remaining ship was there. 147 vessels out of the 200 that had started the campaign. 53 ships lost, over 30,000 crew members dead. Admiral Tejo stood on the bridge of the Indomitable looking at the tactical display. The Devourer hub appeared as a massive red icon, surrounded by 1,500 smaller contacts. The enemy had concentrated everything they had left to defend their heart. "We're outnumbered 10-1, Captain Hyunwoo observed over the communication channel. "We've faced worse," Tejo replied. "And we're still here." Engineer Dong Hyun appeared on screen, his face excited despite the situation. "Admiral, the final Prometheus device is ready. We're calling it Prometheus Final. It's not just a virus, it's a weapon that will teach their entire network that there's always something more dangerous out there. Will it work? I have no idea. But we've loaded it into every stealth missile we have. If we can get even one into their central processing core, it should spread throughout their entire system. Good enough. Prepare for deployment." Commander Nari's Marines were checking their equipment, preparing for boarding operations. She knew that many of them wouldn't come back. She'd already lost 40% of her force during the campaign. But not a single Marine had refused to volunteer for this final assault. "Listen up," she told her team. "This is it. This is what we trained for. We're going into that hub and we're going to rip out its heart. Some of us won't make it, but the ones who do will be able to tell their children that they saved the galaxy. Move out." Minji was in her fighter running through pre-flight checks. Her squadron had started with 30 pilots. Now she had 12. Every single one was a veteran now, scarred by months of continuous combat. "Viper Squadron, this is Viper 1, she transmitted. "Stay tight, watch each other's backs. If we're going down, we're taking as many of them with us as we can." Her wingman replied, "Copy that. Viper 1, let's finish this." Captain Yuna's Silent Reaper was already moving forward, invisible to sensors. Her mission was critical. She had to deliver the Prometheus final devices to the hub's core. It was a suicide run. Everyone knew it. "Admiral," she said over a private channel, "it's been an honor serving with you." "The honor is mine, Captain. Good hunting. See you on the other side, sir." Admiral Tejo opened a fleet-wide channel. His voice was calm, steady. "This is Admiral Tejo to all ships. For 5 months, we've hunted these machines across the galaxy. We've bled for it. We've lost friends, comrades, family. The Council asked us to save them, and we said yes. Not because we had to, but because it was right. Because when someone threatens innocent lives, humans respond. Today, we end this threat forever. All ships execute Operation Endgame. For Earth, for the Council, for every life the Devourers have taken. Attack." The fleet moved as one. Captain Hyunwoo's Valkyrie's Wrath launched every fighter it had. 3,000 craft screamed toward the hub. The Devourers opened fire with everything they had. The space between the fleets filled with weapons fire, explosions, and debris. Minji led her squadron through the chaos. Devourer interceptors came at them in perfect formation, but the humans didn't fly in formation. They scattered, regrouped, attacked from unexpected angles. Minji pulled a maneuver that nearly crushed her inside her cockpit, but it put her behind 3 enemy ships. She fired. All 3 exploded. "Viper 3 is hit," someone called. "Going down." "Make it count," came the reply. The damaged fighter rammed into a Devourer destroyer, both vanishing in a ball of fire. The main fleet engaged at close range. The Indomitable's railguns fired continuously, each shot destroying an enemy vessel. But the Devourers were fighting desperately now. They knew if they lost here, they lost everything. A Devourer battleship targeted the Valkyrie's Wrath. Captain Hyunwoo saw it coming. "All power to forward shields," he ordered. "Helm, ram speed." "Sir?" "You heard me." Full speed ahead. The carrier accelerated directly at the battleship. The Devourers concentrated their fire, hammering the human ship's shields. But Hyunwoo's vessel was massive, heavily armored, and built to take punishment. "Brace for impact," he called out. The 2 ships collided. The sound was impossible, a grinding, tearing shriek of metal and energy. The Devourer battleship broke apart. The Valkyrie's Wrath tore through it like a hammer through glass, but the damage was catastrophic. Hyunwoo's ship was dying. "Abandon ship," he ordered. "All hands evacuate now." His crew rushed to escape pods. Hyunwoo stayed on the bridge, manually targeting weapons even as explosions tore through his vessel. He fired the last of his missiles at a cluster of Devourer ships, then smiled. "Not bad for a final act," he muttered. Just before the ship's reactor went critical, The explosion destroyed 17 Devourer ships and cleared a path to the hub. Captain Yuna saw the opening. "Now," she whispered. The Silent Reaper accelerated through the gap, still invisible, carrying its deadly cargo. Behind her, the human fleet was being torn apart. She could see ships exploding, hear desperate calls for help over the communication channels. But she couldn't stop. She had one job. The hub's defenses were incredible. Energy shields, point defense systems, automated turrets. But they couldn't target what they couldn't see. Yuna flew through them like a ghost, her hands steady on the controls. "Almost there," she said to her crew. "Prepare missiles for launch." A lucky shot from a Devourer ship grazed the Silent Reaper's hull. The stealth coating was damaged. Suddenly, every sensor in the area locked onto her position. "They see us," her tactical officer reported unnecessarily. "Then we finish this fast. Fire everything, now." Dozens of missiles launched from the Silent Reaper, each carrying a Prometheus final device. The Devourers tried to shoot them down, but there were too many, moving too fast. 3 missiles got through, punching into the hub's core structure. Engineer Dong Hyun had been right. The devices worked. The Devourer network began to collapse, infected by a virus that taught them something they'd never experienced: fear. Their systems started fighting each other, shutting down, overloading. But Yuna never saw it. A Devourer defense platform fired directly into the Silent Reaper's engines. The ship exploded instantly. On the Indomitable, Admiral Taeho watched Captain Yuna's signal disappear from his tactical display. He allowed himself one moment of grief, then pushed it aside. The battle wasn't over. All ships concentrate fire on the hub. Commander Nari, begin boarding operations. Nari's Marines launched from their transport ships in small assault craft. They headed directly into the chaos, dodging weapons fire and debris. Half the craft were destroyed before reaching the hub, but the rest got through. The Marines cut their way inside. The hub's interior was a maze of machinery and processing units. Devourer drones tried to stop them, but they were malfunctioning now, fighting their own programming. Nari led her team deeper, following the maps Dong-hyun had created from captured data. "There," she pointed. "The central core. Plant the charges." Her Marines set explosive charges on every critical system they could find. They worked quickly, professionally. When the last charge was set, Nari activated the timer. "Everyone out. We have 2 minutes. Not everyone made it." The Devourers, even dying, fought desperately. Commander Nari took a hit protecting one of her Marines. She went down, blood spreading across her armor. "Leave me," she ordered. "Get out." "No one gets left behind," her Marines said, pulling her up. They ran, half carrying their commander, racing against the timer. They reached their assault craft with 15 seconds to spare. The pilot launched immediately, burning hard away from the hub. The charges detonated. Combined with the Prometheus final infection and the damage from the human fleet, it was too much. The Devourer hub began to break apart. Internal explosions rippled through its structure. The machine intelligence, its central consciousness, screamed across every frequency, a digital death cry. Then silence. The Devourer ships stopped fighting. Some tried to retreat, others simply drifted, their coordination network gone. The human fleet methodically destroyed every single one. It took hours, but Admiral Taeho was thorough. No survivors, no escape. When it was finally over, Taeho sat in his command chair and closed his eyes. Around him, his crew was exhausted, wounded, crying. "Get me a casualty report," he said quietly. Suji's hands shook as she compiled the data. "We lost 93 ships, 127,000 casualties. The Devourers are completely destroyed. Every ship, every facility, every trace of their network is gone." Admiral Taeho was silent for a long moment. Then he opened a channel to the council. Ambassador Hana appeared on screen. She looked as tired as he felt. "It's done," he told her. "The Devourers are extinct." "The council wants to hold a celebration," Hana said. "They're calling you heroes. We're not heroes. We're soldiers who did a job. We lost too many good people for this to be a celebration. What do you want, Admiral?" "I want to go home. I want to mourn our dead, and I want the galaxy to leave us alone." But it wasn't that simple. The council offered humanity a permanent seat as the protector species. Taeho attended the ceremony, standing before representatives of 47 civilizations.